Okay, so for today, right? What we will discuss, what we will discuss is we have to move towards the automation part of Playwright, which we have not gone through in detail till now. We have been discussing about the architectures and different configurations which are available in Playwright, and which was, I would say, which is the most important part. And I will try to close the remaining gap of it once we start discussing about the browsers and all. Okay, so let's start. So we know, like, if you have to write a test case, you provide it like this, right? Test part, and then you mention the three details here: the name of the test case. The second thing is the details part. Again, let me just write it as is. We do not are not interested in this. The third part is the most important part, right? Where you define a function, right? And this is where the you define your body of your test case, right? Now, this also we have to understand, like, what all we should write and all. So we'll discuss this, but most important part is this, right? This is one portion where you provide some things, right? We have discussed, like, these this is a destructuring object where you provide inputs, correct? And till now you might have seen me using page, right? Page, what is page? Let me just again tell you, like, let's say you have two test files. Let me create two test files. This is two test files: test file 1, test file 2, right? Test file 1, test file 2. And here what we have is, in the config file of our test case, we have specified, let's say, we have created a project with the name as Chrome, and we have specified these two files are being used. So how many workers will be started? Suresh, how
Two
many workers,
workers, two work, two
right?
workers.
So you
Yeah,
will receive worker 1 here, you will receive worker 2 here, right? I
yeah.
mean, I'm considering the fully parallel is false, which is the default case, right? Now, what happens here? Let's take an example. In this file, we have two test cases. Let's say test 1, test this, and test this, right? Test this and this. So you will define something here also, test and test. Okay. Now, what can you provide in this box here, right? People, I know, like, a lot of people don't go into detail of all this, but I think this is very vital. What happens here is, like, what all can you provide? There are four
Browser,
things. There are four things which you can provide. Four different types of things. Okay, which Playwright has configured. I'll talk about that browser and all, right? But let's understand what are the parameters what are the objects which you can provide here. Okay, there are four objects. The name of the objects are worker args arguments. Second is worker options. If I'm writing right, yes, worker options. The third thing is the test args, and the fourth is test options. Okay, now these are the four things clubbed together, right? Whatever comes from it, right, from all these collectively, you can mention it here. Now the question is, what things comes under these, right? Test options, we have discussed. Test option means the use options, right? Use options means all of this which is mentioned here, which is also available on the documentation. If you go and check test options, you see this test options. So everything you see here, right? All of this you can access in that body, in that part of it, right? Over here. So let's say, let us take an example. If you see this accept downloads, right? So accept download, if you want, right, you can go and type in here and you will be given, right? You will be given and you can use it. Okay, the use case of it can depend on your needs, but what I'm trying to tell you here is what can you access here, right? It's not that everything within Playwright is accessible there. No, these are the things which are being injected by Playwright, right? But those are on demand. If you want it, you will have to specify, and Playwright will inject it for you, right? If you don't specify, you will not get it. Okay, this is one part, right? What is TestArgs, what is WorkerOptions, and what is WorkerArgs, right? Okay, for these three things, these are not mentioned in the documentation. Okay, you will not find a section which says, okay, what is TestArgs and all, but I have a list of it. So let me tell you, right, what are those things. WorkerArgs, right? You said, right, Shailesh, that we access browser there, right? Browser there. Now, who provides you browser out of these four? Browser comes from WorkerArgs. Okay, it comes from WorkerArgs. Why? Again, one, the reason is like it is how it is structured in Playwright. But the second part is, if you look at your file, right? If you look at a file, what happens here? What Playwright does? Playwright says that every worker, right, will be receiving one browser instance. Browser, right? Browser, not the browser context. Browser, right? The parent of everything, right? So you get browser. Within the browser, you have browser context. Browser context. See, this is like the instance of the browser. These are like instances of the browser. When I say, like, you can understand it like a process, right? And within that process, you are creating multiple sessions. So browser context is your session, right? And within that session, you can have multiple tabs, right, which are represented by pages. Now, what does worker has? One worker, like for this entire file, will have one browser instance, but and the same browser instance, right, can be accessed here, can be and will be same browser instance will be accessed here also, right? But how? But you do not work at the browser level. At what level do you work? You work at the browser context level, right? This is where the every test case will receive a new session. But from where are you extracting it? You are extracting it from the browser, right? So you are either interested in browser context, or you may directly be using pages. Okay, the pages part. Pages means what? It's a tab, right? To open a page, you need a browser context, and for a browser context, you need a browser. So if you directly use pages, Playwright will do all these three things for you, and you will be given that. You do not have to create a session for yourself. You do not have to create the instance of the browser. You just need to access pages. And as soon as you do this, Playwright will create all of those and give it to you, right, on a plate. Okay, but what you have to understand is that browser is at the worker level. Okay, so for every worker, there will be only one instance, one browser. Okay, and out of that browser, what Playwright can do is Playwright can inject a separate session for this test case and a separate test session for this test case. That is what Playwright does. Okay, if you want access to this browser, you can access, right, and do more things. But if you want, but if again, okay, we'll talk about it, right? This is browser which is shared by all the test cases in a same by the same worker, right? So this is the same worker running all your test cases in this file. So all of these test cases will be referring to the same browser, right? Right? Okay. And but who is now if you see, right, browser is related to the worker part, and that's why browser, right, is a part of worker args argument. Okay, browser. There is one more field which is available at the worker args, is the Playwright. When you say Playwright, right, it is like they have inbuilt given you the access to the Playwright core library. Okay, core library. Let's say if you're interested in accessing something at the core level, you can access it through Playwright. Let me show you instead of just saying. Again, it might be of useful for you to or may not be, right, based on what you might be trying to automate, but it is very vital for you to understand as a to get the deep understanding about Playwright. Yes, Shailesh, please.
Yeah, Akhil, so can we say that these worker arguments, worker options, TestArg, and all these things,
Mhm.
like they work, like the worker argument and options are working on the worker process, which will be like an instance of a browser, and to like more having more control over it. Is it the right statement?
Not the control over it. It's just that you can just understand, like, when you say that you would be using Chrome, right, and you decided to run two test files. So if you see, right, let's say, how should I say it? Mm, um, okay, okay. Give me one more minute, right? Let me just write it, and maybe then I can be able to show you. So I've created a spec file, okay, and I'm trying to create a test case. This will be, let's say, test case one. I'll have to import this. Import test perform Playwright test. Okay, and details I'm not providing. Let's say async. Okay, so we are good. Now this is where we are talking about, right? The destructuring of the things. What all can you provide here? We know about browser context and page. We have been discussing it. What I'm telling you here is, if you see the documentation here also, right? Test, see here, test. You can provide a test body, but this test body can receive these 4 things. You see, test args, test options, worker args, and worker options, right? Now the question which might arise is, what do they contain, right? What does they contain? What I'm trying to tell you here is that here you can access page, here you can access browser, here you can access browser context, right? The context, how do you write context, right? You can access a lot of other things. Let's say accept downloads, right? Accept downloads, let's say base URL, right? There are so many things, but you have to understand, like, from where are these things coming, right? Who is providing you what? That is what my intent is to tell you about all this. Okay, so that you should be aware, like, what all can I access in this destructuring object. Okay, now coming to your point, see this, what I'm saying. Let me read another test case, which is test case 2. Okay, test case 2, async. Okay, here, let me just remove it. Let's just write browser. Okay, browser. Let me write browser again. Now, when you say browser here, okay, first of all, you also know about fixtures, right? I told you there are inbuilt fixtures which are maintained by Playwright, and they are on demand basis. If you need them, you will have to specify, and Playwright will then inject it for you. Otherwise, you cannot access them. Okay, it is your responsibility to make sure that you are asking Playwright to inject it. How do you ask? By mentioning it here. What are those fixtures? There are 4 of them which you might be interested in. One is browser, second is browser context, third is the page, fourth is the request. Okay, fourth is the request, which you will not use because that is something meant for the API testing. Okay, for our interest, these are 3: browser context, and page. These are the only 3 things which are fixtures for us, right? Whatever else I will tell you, right, those are not fixtures. Those are not fixtures. Those are just properties or objects which you are given access to if you want it in your test case. Okay, one thing, this thing should be very clear. Okay, now coming to the other point, when I said that I'll be running this spec file, let's say that you have a worker 1 which who would be running this, right? Now worker 1, right, it's a process which is starting, right? Now as part of this process, it will be given a browser, right? It will be told that, okay, you have to work on a specific browser, let's say Chrome. So it will be working on Chrome. So it will do what? It is like, it will be creating one instance of the browser. Okay, let me just say this, one browser instance, right? One browser instance which will be shared across all test cases which are run through this worker. Okay, now how many test cases you have? Test case 1, test case 2. So both the test cases are going to use the same browser instance. Let's call that browser instance as B1. Okay, let's say, let me just write, this is not the right nomenclature which I'm writing, right? But just understand that I'm saying this. Okay, let's say you are saying Chrome, let's say. Okay, just for the just for you to understand. So B1, right? So let's say B1 would be used by all the test cases. Like if you have 100 test cases, all of them would be using, until and unless the same worker is running it. If your worker dies down, right? If your worker dies down and it goes away and you have to start a new worker, that second worker will attain a new browser right for itself. So from there, the second browser instance would be started. Okay, it will happen only if somehow the worker is killed, or let's say it got crashed or some issue came up, right? And your test case continues, then what Playwright will do is it will spin up a new worker for you, give to your test case, but because of that, right, it will start a new browser instance over there. Okay, this is one thing. Now what happens here is B1 is shared by all the test case. So let me write here. So what test will receive? This will receive B1, right? This will also receive B1. Now you cannot do anything with B1. Okay, B1 is just a browser instance which you are given. If you have to work in Playwright, you will have to create a session, right? How do you create a session? You can create a session from this browser by saying b1.new context. As soon as you do it, you can yourself create a new session for yourself. But in Playwright, there is no need, because Playwright does that for you automatically. You will just have to consume it. Okay. If you want to consume it, what you will do is you will come here and type context. Now, as soon as you type context here, what Playwright does is Playwright takes this browser instance, which was meant for this worker. It will create a new, what we say, isolated session just for this test case, just for this test case. Okay. But from which browser it is creating? It is creating from this B1, right? And those sessions are only meant for a particular test case, and that's how they isolate their test cases. Okay. So you have to understand what happens here is, from this browser, from this B1, right, you will get a new context. Okay. You don't have to type new context, you just have to say context. Playwright will create a new instance of the session, right, from this browser and give it to you, right? Right. This is the second thing which you can get. And similarly, if you do here, right, so let me call it as context as C1, right? So you receive C1 here. If you do the same thing here, right, in this browser, in this test case, what will happen is it will use the same browser which you created the browser instance, and from this browser instance, it will create a new context. Okay, C2, new, let's say B1 dot new context, right? So you receive two different sessions, which will not impact each other's work. One thing which you do in one browser, it will, those cookies, sessions, and everything, right, will remain under that browser only. It will not be available to the other browser. That is the whole idea around things. Third thing, what you can get, right, these are just opened up browser, right? If, again, I would say, right, they do not even open the browsers, they are like in the background, they're doing something. If you really want to do something on the browser, you need access to the tab on which you can hit the URL. And what do we represent that tab as in Playwright? As a page. Okay. So if you want to really work on automation, you need the access to that page. If you are yourself interested to create it, what you can do is, from this context, right, you can create that page. P1 equals to new page, or let me write C1 dot new page. You can do this. As soon as you do this, you can get a new page, or you can ask Playwright to provide it to you. How can you ask it? You can just have to say that you have to use the fixture here. You will see page. As soon as you write page here, right, Playwright will do something like this for you, and it will give, and now you will see a browser opened up and a tab opened up, and there you will have access to the tab. If you want, now you can access everything inside that tab using this page object. You can say go to, which will hit the URL. You can do the locator part and everything on it. Are we understanding this? And in the third case, right, here also, what will happen is, because this is a new context altogether, the page instance would be also new, right? But it would be on what? It would be on this C2, right? Let's say P2 equals to C2 dot new page. Did we understand this, first of all?
Yes, Akhil.
Right? Okay, great. So again, I'm repeating, right? There are a lot of things which you can access here, right? But out of all those things, there are only 3 or 4 things, right? At least for our case, this is only 3: browser, context, and page, which are called fixtures. These are called inbuilt fixtures because you did not create those fixtures. Playwright has an internal mechanism to create them, but if you need them, you will have to consume it by mentioning it over there, right? Other things which I will mention here, right, are just the properties which are available to you. If you need for your purpose, you can access them. That's it. But these are the real things, and you can do everything using these things. Okay. Now coming back to our question, when I was explaining you, right, who provides you what? Okay, that is, if you see the browser part, from where the browser is coming, it is coming from the WorkerArgs. Why? Because worker is the one who is given that browser, and that's why this is aligned with it. So if you need access to browser, you will get it from WorkerArgs. If you look at Playwright, you will get it from WorkerArgs. Okay, you will not need it. Okay, you will not need it, at least from our purpose, because we have a test runner. But let's say if you need it, you can access it through there. Worker options. Okay, we'll talk test options. I told you, right? Test options also we are good. I said test options are all the options which are mentioned in the here, right? Test options. All of these things. If you need any of these things, these are coming from test options, right? And if you remember, these are the same things which you meant. These are the things which you mentioned under the use part, either at the global config or even within a project level scoping, right? Let me just show you this part also. If you see this use part, whatever you mention under these braces here, right? These are test options, right? And what all can you mention? All of this. And all of these are injected to every test case so that if you need the access to them, you can access them. Let's say base URL, right? You see, you have put in a base URL. Let's say I'm very interested to know what is the base URL provided to this test case, right? So you will do what? You will just say base URL. And now you can access it here. Okay. This is again injected to you, but it's a property. It's not a fixture. Okay. So test options, I think we are good. WorkerArgs, we are good. Okay, Playwright, let me show you, right? Playwright also exists. If you see, right, Playwright, if you hover over it, it's like it's a core library, right? I told you there is a difference between Playwright and Playwright test, right? Playwright test is a test runner which is giving you a lot of things, but the core part is the Playwright library, right? The Playwright core library, which you do not access directly because that is given to you through that Playwright test, right? But let's say if you are interested, you can do what? You can just access it from here. You can say Playwright, and you will see all of these things, right? Which are available here. Okay. Again, not of any use for you, but yeah, just for the information part. What are the other two things? Worker options and the TestArgs. TestArgs, right? If you see, browser came from WorkerArgs, right? What are the two things which are remaining here? The fixture. So this is the fixture here, right? The other two important fixtures for us is a page and the context. From where does it provide? Who provides it? TestArgs. This is context is provided from here. Page is provided from here. And there's a third thing which provides, again, the fourth one, which was the request fixture, right? So these three things are coming from this TestArgs. Okay, TestArgs. Context, page, request, right? Page request is meant for API testing. So again, just remove it from our list. These are the two things, right, which you should be knowing of. So tomorrow, if someone asks, okay, who provides you context? It is a TestArgs, right? And again, it should click your head, right? It says TestArgs. Why? Because these are the arguments, right, which are provided at a test level, right? Context and the page, as I said. Browser is at the worker level, so it's a worker argument, right? Because for every worker you receive a browser, which is this part. Only one instance of it, right? Out of that instance, you create multiple sessions, isolated sessions, right? So I hope this is also clear. Now the last part is the worker options. There are a lot of properties which are provided through it, which you can access. Let me try to create a new board and write it down. Here, right? So let me just again write WorkerArgs, worker options, TestArgs, test options. And all of this can be injected or being accessed in your test case, right? So WorkerArgs provides you two things. One is the browser fixture, and second is the access to the Playwright core library, right? If you want to access from something from it, you can access through this part. Worker options will talk about test arguments, right? Provides you three different fixtures. One is the context, which is equivalent to your one browser session, one isolated browser session. Second is the page, which is equivalent to the one tab on that particular session. And the third thing is the request. Test options, I've told you, these all of these things which are mentioned here, right, are provided from this argument here, right? All of this. So you can access all of these. The fourth part, worker options, right? So what all can you access here? It's a list of things which you can access. There is a property called browser name. Let's say if you're interested to know which browser is being used, right? Let's say Chrome and all. So you can access it from here. When I say browser name, it means like it will be telling you, right? If you see your thing over here, Playwright config, like in devices, right? If you would go and check, whatever name you would have specified, right, under those devices property, you can access it from there. Or so that is one thing, right, which you can access. So the same thing you can access through the browser name part. Let me remove all this. Browser name, right? If you see, browser name is provides you what? Yeah, like Firefox, right? Chromium, or the third thing was WebKit, right? So if you want to know that which browser would be running this test case, you can access it from this browser name property. Okay. This next thing, what you can access is there are like you can just get to know whether things are running in headless or no, right? So you can access that property from your headless. The third property which you can access is channel. If you were using Chromium, right, as a browser name, you can specify which browser you wanted to work on. Let's say Chrome or MS Edge, right? So, and those are meant only for Chromium. So you can access those information through the channel property, right? The fourth thing is there are a lot of other things actually, but what all is mentioned or what I should tell you here is, okay, let me just write down all the properties, right? Not all of the properties you might be knowing or should be knowing. Something called launch options. Second is other is called connect options, right? There is something called screenshots. We'll talk about the screenshots part and the other things once we discuss about it. There is something called trace, video, right? And there is one more part, default browser type. Default browser type. So this is the complete list of things, right, which you can access from this worker options. And in totality, all of this can be accessed in the test destructuring part. Just under this. So you can access any of these here by just saying comma separate. And Playwright will inject it for you so that you can get the access to that information or to those fixtures. So this is a fixture. These are all the fixtures here. So 4 fixtures, and others are the properties or the objects. If you want some access from it, you can access it. Yeah, Anand, please.
Hey, again, I think I did not attend one of the last class. Here, one thing that is coming to my mind is why exactly will we be required to access these values as arguments? Like I'm trying to relate this to the way we write code for Java. There we used to have some objects from different classes from where we can use these properties. So I'm just trying to understand here how does these values as a part of parameters to the function why is it designed this way or how difference it makes from the way we write code in Java related
Okay.
automation frameworks.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I understand this. Okay. Now, okay. To
Yeah.
answer your query, right? Tell me, like in Java, right? If you have to work on a browser, what do you do? You, let's say my use case is I want to open pod test site. What code would you write in Selenium using Java?
Yeah, we'll start with the driver instance
You will create a driver instance, right? Maybe you will do new Chrome driver or something, right?
or something. Yeah. Yes.
New Chrome driver. This will do what? This will create a new browser session, right? Like this,
Yes.
an empty session, right? Maybe a tab also opened up on it, right?
Yeah.
This is what it will do, right? New Chrome driver. If you
Yes.
do this, so this is a browser session. So let me write. This is what I will call it as context in case of the Playwright.
Mhm.
And this tab which has been opened, right, I will term it as a page,
Page. Yeah.
right? And this process which is running this is, which browser are you using? You're using let's say Chrome here, right?
Mhm.
So this I will call it as browser here
Browser.
in terms of the Playwright. Now to do all of this, right, to do all of this, you will have to do this part, new Chrome driver, right? New Chrome driver. And this is like you will go and type in every time, right, if you want to create this instance, correct? Now
Correct.
if you understand, right, your use case was what you wanted to test a test case which has certain steps. Let's say open the URL, go to login through the application, maybe add an item to the cart, and then log out from it. And then what you wanted to close the browser.
Yeah.
So session management, right? This is the start of the session, and this is the end of the session, right? And in between here exists your real test case, correct?
Correct.
Starting the session and ending the session is a part of the job which you will have to do if you want to automate things. But who has the responsibility of maintaining it for you in Selenium? You only,
Okay.
right? You only. You are the one who will have to start the session, and once you are done, you will have to close the session also. Correct? And believe me, this is one of the biggest problems, right? Which exist because of those frameworks, because you have the responsibility for it. You might be having a level of knowledge, let's say at 10, right? I might be having the knowledge on the Selenium, let's say at 5. Someone else attending, joining your team, right, might not have the same level of knowledge as yours, right? And what happens because of this case, right? People do not understand things and they just come up, right, and just start writing things and trying to do something on it. What happens because of this misinformation and all the stuff? What happens here is, because Selenium, the way it is designed, right, you will have to create things at your end and destroy them. You have the responsibility of doing all of it, and if you don't do it properly, there would be leakages. Correct? There would be unnecessary sessions lying, sitting there, right, which are doing nothing, but they are being taking some space, right? Let's say you are using Selenium Grid and it has a capacity of running 8 browser sessions. Your 3 browser sessions are still running because you did not close them, right? Now, how many are remaining with you? Only 5. You might be expecting, okay, 8 test cases should be running, but no, 8 will not be running. 3s are already consumed. You will have only 5 sessions remaining, right, which you can use. So what I'm trying to tell you here is, in that Selenium part, right, because that responsibility lies on you, right? So it also brings one more additional thing on your shoulders, which is to manage the session, right? And for just for that purpose, you will have to write you will have to think of a design to manage all of that. In case of Playwright and WebDriver.io, right, we have seen that that responsibility has been taken away. We do not need to create the sessions ourselves. That session management responsibility is lying with these frameworks, WebDriver.io and Playwright. Okay. Now the way it works, right, how they are able to achieve this. See, understand one thing, let's break it into 2 parts only, just to simplify things. One is, they have taken responsibility from your plate into their plate, right? But how did they achieve this? That's the second question. They have achieved it through the concept of dependency injection. Okay, dependency injection. Now it's the concept, right? What happens here is, how did I came to know about the independence injection, or how I understand this? I have learned Spring Boot, okay, Spring Boot in Java, okay, which is a way to create a backend application in Java. So from that knowledge of dependency injection, which I learned through that learning, I know about this. Okay, how can I tell you, like, what does it mean? Just to simplify things, right, I can just tell you. Let's say you, in our case, right, you need, if you see in this part, you need a browser session, right? You need a browser session to work on it. So somehow you have to do this, right? You will have to do something like this. Okay, page I'm not accessing. Let me just write. Page dot go to, right? So here you just specify the URL, https test.in. Now understand this, right? You are accessing the page without creating any sessions, right? And you're not, without creating any object. Am I creating the object of the page? No, right? I'm not creating it. I am being provided to it, right? But someone would be doing it. You understand the point? Here also there is a concept of classes and objects and everything, right? Which we have learned in TypeScript and JavaScript, right, Anand?
Yes.
Right. Now, if you want something from a class, you will have to create an object. There is no two thoughts about it, right? That's
Correct.
the only way to access it.
Correct.
But
That's
you are right, and if you see here, right, I am not the one who is creating that object, but internally someone would be doing it.
okay.
Right? Someone is doing it. Who is doing it? Playwright is doing it for you.
Okay.
Okay. So, and it is very beautifully crafted, right, inside Playwright, that they are managing all the stuff, right? And what happens here is, Playwright, try to understand, Playwright is like a brain, right? It's like a brain which is working, right? And it knows that, and it is telling you that, hey Anand, I have done some simplifications for you. Now what you have to do is, do not have to worry about browser sessions, right? I have taken care of it. But once you need a browser session, tell me. Okay, your Playwright is saying this, right? And if you need this, how will you tell me? You will go and write in your test case that you need a page. Just say this page. Now Playwright will do what? Playwright knows that Playwright has already given a browser to the worker, right, who is running this test case, who is running this test file, right? Now from that browser, right, what Playwright will do here in your test cases, if you specify this way, it will go, it knows that the B1 is already with the worker, right? It will do what? It will go and create a new context from it, and then it will go and create a new page for it, and then inject that page, the object, let's say this P1, right, which has been created from that page, right? It will inject this to this variable here, which is page, and now you can access it through this page variable. Getting it?
Okay, so so we can understand it this way as well, that all these entities, as soon as I write the test method,
Right.
they are readily available. It is just you need to mention which fixture basically. Yeah, that's the correct
Only
word, right?
there are, and just you're absolutely correct, right? And what happens here is, just understand, not all the things are fixtures. There are only 4 things which are fixtures here, right?
Okay.
Which is, and fixtures means these are like the environments given to you, right, to work on, right? Test environments, like page is like a browser session, right, which is like a test environment for you, right, which is given to you handedly, right, that okay, please go and use it, and once you're done with it, you do not need to clean it up. I will do it for you. Playwright is saying this, right?
Yeah.
Once you reach the end of the browser, right, the test case, Playwright will see, okay, the boundary has finished, right? Now, Anand would not be using it since the boundary is finished. Let me just clean up this session for you. Okay. So Playwright is doing for you, right?
Okay.
But
So,
these are on demand basis and would only be injected once you ask for it. If you don't ask, you will not get it.
okay. So yeah, so now I got the point of the main word, that releasing the overhead of from users end to manage these core entities or these core environment related entities, so that user can just focus on his ends deliverable. Rest all is kind of managed, and that's where the upper hand of Playwright over Selenium, I was, as I understand it.
Absolutely correct, right? This is one of the good features, right, which you can see in even WebDriver IO does it for you, right? WebDriver also provides you a session. You don't have to create a session for you, but it's just the manage, like WebDriver IO manages it in a different way. Playwright manages in a different way, but both are giving you those sessions, right? In case of Playwright, you will have to specifically mention what do you need. If you don't specify, you will not get it. That is the part. But yes, it takes away a lot of pain from your side. It has, and believe me, right, it has taken a very big pain of browser session management. It's a big pain, and it has been taken away so that you can focus on the real thing, which is actually writing the test case for your needs, rather being worried about, like, okay, the session part, which is like the tool thing, right, not your use case thing. Getting it?
Yeah.
So that your focus can get back to this part, but you have to understand how things are working.
Yeah. In order to utilize that, we need to understand how the ecosystem is working.
Right.
We will be able to leverage that.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
Right.
Now it is quite clear that why what is the major difference?
Great. So we're good, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay. Where were we? Yes. So these are the things, right, which are accessible there, right? And you can just check. You will be able to access all of them, right? Now let's just focus today, right? Let's start with this thing. Okay. One more thing, right? I will come to it maybe some other time, but just to tell you, right, we have to discuss about where is that? Fixtures. If you see, right, fixtures, browser, context, page, and request, right? Browser name is a fixture. No, this is name of the browser it runs into, defaults to Chrome. This is not a fixture. This is just a property. Browser, context, page, and request are the fixtures. What I was trying to tell you, Playwright test. This one. Okay. We have seen test, right? How to write a test. We have seen after all, after each, before all, before each, right? So we have seen all these 5 things, right? There are certain other methods which are available: describe, fail, fix me, info, only, right, skip, and all that. So 4 or 5 things, right? We will discuss about it. Test use, we have seen, right? This is a way to override the test options at a test case level, okay, or I should say at a test file level. So you can use test use to do that. So we have seen that part also. So there are 4 or 5 things, right, which are pending here, which I will discuss once we start designing our framework. Okay. Again, but if just to tell you, right, test fail, right? if you read about it, it marks the test as fail, right? That it should fail. And if it fails, then it is like a good thing for you because you expected the test case to fail, right? Test skip. If you want to skip some test cases, you will have to write test skip. What I mean here is you will go here and just say, so if you write it this way, right, it means like this is a scope of work and this will be executed. If you do not want to run this test case, right, what you can do is just type skip here, and now this would be skipped from the execution. Okay, this would be skipped from the execution. Now let's say there are 100 test cases and you are interested in only running one test case, right? Out of this, maybe you're trying to maybe debug a particular test case, right? So if you want to run it, right, there is a thing which you can do for it. I think it is only, or what do you call it, only, right? There's a test case declares a focus test. So if you say only that test case will run. Okay, out of all the test case, only this test case will run then, right? So only is done, fail is done, right? Skip, fail, oh yeah, fail we have seen, right? Skip we have seen, only we have seen, and set timeout. So every test case, right? Okay, we have not discussed about various timeouts. We will discuss it in a separate session. So maybe I'll cover it over there. But you can set a timeout for your entire test case. Let's say your test case is very bulky, and I think by default every test case in Playwright needs to complete in 30 seconds. Okay, it needs to complete in 30 seconds time frame. If it does not complete, it will throw an error saying that okay, the time frame has exceeded, and Playwright will just fail the test case. Let's say, but you know that 30 seconds is very short and you want to increase it, you can increase it through set timeout. Okay, for a particular test case. Describe. Describe is a way to group multiple test cases in a group. Okay, so that is one part. So you can see, right, you can just write describe and you can write test cases within it. Okay, but we will discuss about it once we start discussing about the frameworks. But it's a very trivial information which you should be knowing. Okay, but major parts we have already covered. Okay, coming back, let's start our automation now. Okay, I think we now have everything. Now let's start with the automation part. We need to understand these three things in and out, right? Browser, context, and the page. When we will jump to page, right, we will see a lot of other things. So page means like with page, right, you get access to everything which you want to do on the browser. Let's say you want to open a new tab, you wanted to select a drop down, you want to make a click, you wanted to drag and drop, right, that mouse events, keyboard events, let's say a pop-up, right, shadow DOM and all that, right? So all of that, those things, right, are accessible at the page level, because that is where you get the access to the tab, right? So we'll discuss. So once we discuss on the page level, on the page side, we will start discussing about all of that now. Okay, but today we will discuss at the browser and the browser context level, because those are very limited methods available on it. Let's just focus on that part. Right, browser. Okay, browser, as I said, it's like you said, okay, I'll be using Chrome as a process. You said this, okay, this is the Chrome, right? You said I'm going to use Chrome. So what Playwright did was it accesses this browser instance through this browser object. Okay, now if you need a new context on it, right, a new session, what you will do is, let's say this one, right, so this is session 1 and this is another session 2. You will have to do what? You can just use browser and do here new context. As soon as you do this, right, it will assign a session to it. But mind you, no tab opens up here, right? It's just a session created in the background. You will not see the screen opened up here. Okay. Similarly, if you, let's say you did it again, browser.new context, again a new session would be started, and you can keep on doing it as many as you want, right? And mind you, all these sessions are isolated sessions. There is no sharing of cookies and everything, right, within these sessions. So it's like you are opening multiple incognito modes, right, with different profiles, something like that. Okay, okay, let's understand the methods in depth. Let's go to our test case now. Let me remove all this. Okay, let's not remove. Wow, okay. Yeah, let's remove this. Okay, we'll save this and let's import the test case again. Import test from Playwright test. Okay, now test. If you say this, you will say test case one. Test case one. Just a second. Test case one, and we don't need detail object. What we need is async. Sync. Okay. Now here, right? Browser. Okay. See, in a real world, right, you will not be using browser, you will not be trying to access context. What you will do is you will directly access page, and you know what will happen behind the scenes is worker has already received the browser, and from that, as soon as you say page here, right, Playwright on demand will create what? It will create a new context from the browser, and on that context it will create a new tab, right, and that tab is represented by this page, which would be injected in this object with the name as page here. Okay, and then you can say page and page dot go to URL and all that, right? You can do all this. Now we're talking about browser. So Playwright is also giving you a way that, let's say you are not interested in a new page, you're not interested in a context, right? You are rather interested in the browser object which is meant for the entire test file. Okay, if you are interested in, you can access it through this browser part. Let's see what all can you access from this object. Browser dot. You see this? You're getting a lot of things. Browser type, close, is connected, new browser CDP session, new context, new page, and a lot of other things, right? Now, to get the entire list of things, right, which is important for you, what you should do is go to the classes tab on the API. There is a browser part. Go there. These are the methods, right, which are really available for you. Browser type, close, and all that. Let's see it one by one, all the methods. Browser dot browser type, right? Now let's see what does it provide. It, first of all, it's a method. So let me just close the bracket. Does it return a promise? No, it does not return a promise. It says it browser type, right? Get the browser type that the browser belongs to. Okay, so let's collect it somewhere. I will say let browser type equals to this. Let's see what does it print. Console.log. See, right? I did not use await here. Why? Because this browser type is not returning a promise. It is returning a simple browser type, right? So that's why we are not using await here. Wherever you will see a promise being written, you will have to use await, so that you need to wait for that process to finish. Okay, so browser type is browser type. So we are running this end-to-end test case. Let's go to config file. Yeah, I have already created a project for it. So I'll use it through Chrome part. Chrome, right? So let's run it and see what does it do for us. Notice that whether any browser will open up or not. You see, no browser opened up, right? No browser opened up because we did not create a new session, and lastly we did not create a page. If you see this, right, it is printing the entire object, right? It is printing the entire object of the browser. Okay, you can see this is the entire thing. Yeah, Anand.
Sorry, Akhil, I am little confused. I was expecting a browser to be opened, but why
No.
it not? And if not, then which browser? Okay, I think based from the config, it might have got the configs of the default browser that we have set, that is Chrome.
The browser which is running this test case, right? You get access to it through this browser thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
and which one this will is this browser is referring to? The one that we have set, the one that we have set in the config.
Yeah, it is referring to this only, right?
Coming from here, right? Okay.
Yeah, so all the properties of it, right? It is giving you all the see. What does it returns you? It returns you an object of browser type, right? And this browser type as an object, right, has these properties within it.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're interested in accessing any of them, you will have to say browser type dot, and you will have to know the name of the thing, right, which are available there. Okay,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is what it has. But but this is like an object here, right, which has all the properties within it.
Yeah.
And to come to your question, like why did not open the browser? You tell me why did not open the browser as per your
Like
understanding.
we did not use the method like to the go to in order to
No,
instantiate that.
no. Browser, as I said, right? It's like a process only, right? A process being created.
Okay.
No session is started, no page is created, right? So
Yeah.
browser, when you say just only browser, it just creates a new. It just gives you the access to the object to the browser of process, which will be running these test cases. That's it.
Yeah.
If you
So
need a session on it, you will have to either use page here, or you will have to create a page by yourself inside this block.
got it. So then the next question that comes to my mind is, so from where are these properties values are like coming from? Like is it from Playwright internal, from where it is fetching this all these details, or it or does it mention that even if we just create the context of browser, it gets all these details from the system where the browser is installed.
See, it's a part of the ecosystem of Playwright library, right?
Playwright
Playwright
library.
library it knows what is browser type, right? There's an object of browser type within that library, and it knows that what all properties will that object will have, right? It is just giving you the access to that object through this browser type, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
if you are interested in any of these properties, you can access. Otherwise, if you're not interested, just leave it, right? But
Okay.
what matters to us is the session, right? You have to understand when you say browser, you are not getting the session. Okay, that is what my point is,
Right.
right?
Okay. Okay. So to get the access to these options, we don't really need session. But if we want to work with uh, with these values on like really use them, then we might create a session, and then we can start working on the actual browser.
Yeah, which I'm going to show you now. Okay, which I'm about to show you, like how can you do it.
What
Let's
my
say,
thinking was, just to clarify, I was thinking that in order to get these properties as well, we do need to have a physical browser once kicked off, so that it can fetch the data or fetch these values from that session.
see, first of all, again, right, there these are different objects available in Playwright library.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say browser, right, you're getting access to some other object, right? When you will say page, you will get access to something else. When you
Okay.
say browser context, it could be something else, right?
Okay.
And these are like objects, and every object can have its own properties. So browser is a object which has been created and injected into your test case, and you're accessing it, right?
Okay.
And here you are accessing browser type, which is giving you access to another object, which is browser type. And browser type has its own properties which are being listed here, because I
Okay.
printed the entire object itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But again, do you need this? No, you don't need this.
Mm.
Okay. And again, just for the information purpose,
Okay. Okay.
right? The second thing, close, right? Again, close we'll talk about later. Let's ignore it as of now. Okay, let me show you new context, right? Let's just first see new context here. If you come here, right, and you say browser new context, when you say new context, you are saying give me a new isolated session. Okay, new isolated session, new context, right? And you can just leave it like this. Okay, does it return your promise? Let's see. Yes, it returns your promise, so I'll have to use await. Okay, await here. Now let's see what happens here. Will you see a browser being opened up? Let's see. You see, it did not open, right? It did not open up session. I told you a session will not until unless it will open until you say I need a tab. Okay. It in the background it would have created a session for you, right? But it did not showed up because it did not open up. Okay. When you open a browser, right, by default there's a tab involved in it, right? Which is a blank tab.
Mm-hmm.
Until unless you reach to that state, you will not see a browser being opened up. Now let's create that tab. How will you create it? It's a new context, right? The browser is the see when I said browser, right? It is this part. It did this thing, right? When I said new context, it created a session here, right? Like this, right? But it is a blank thing. It did not even have a tab, and a browser with a tab does not show up. Okay, if you open up here, right, like this also. If you open it, let's say if I open anything, it's a personal. If I open it up, you see, right, there's a tab, right? There's a tab which opens up by default. I did not open a tab till now, so even if I close it, right, the session goes away, right? You understanding the point? So we need the session. We need that browser first. I mean that tab over there, so that it can visibly be seen to you. Correct? Let's do it
Yeah.
now. Let's do it now. So let's say C1. Okay, I'm calling it C1 here. Let C1 equals to this. Now you got access to what does new context gave you? It gave you an access to browser context, which is a different library, right? Now again, if you, let's say you wanted to open a browser a tab on that session which you just created at line number 9, how will you do it? You will say C1 dot new page. Okay, again it's a part of, okay, now okay, let me show you new page. Let p1 equals to new page, like this. Okay, if you do this thing and you will now do p1 dot go to, array yaar, await, and I have to use await here also. Await p1 dot go to. Right, I'm doing p1 dot go to here, and this is how it will be created. What I will do here is, let's run it. Let's see this time. So till line number 9, right, we were not seeing a session being opened up and all. Although in the background it would have started the process, but because we did not open a tab on it, did not show that thing appearing on the screen. Let's run it and see what happens now. You see, a browser opened up, a tab opened up, and it was accessing the URL, right? So you have to somehow reach here, right? Now, if you start from the browser, you will have to do all these things by yourself, right? But it's a shortcut. Why to do all of this? Instead of doing all of this, just say page and comment all this out. And you will directly use what? Page dot go to cp. What is written? See the behavior. Let's run it. See, same thing. But this time, who did the page creation? Who did the context creation? Who did the browser attachment to it? Playwright. Getting it, Anand? Kiran?
Yeah, now I'm understanding the hierarchy of this ecosystem. Yeah.
Right. So this is how things are working. Okay, great, right? But again, let's go back to our browser part. We are not interested in page right now. We were interested in browser. We wanted to explore what are the methods available there. So right, so you started at the topmost level, which is the browser. Now, if you need to open, if you want to open a URL, you will have to go to the browser context, which you do by creating a new context here, right? See what do you get? You get access to browser context, right? So C1 is like it is this only browser context. C1 is a type of browser context, right? And what is browser context? Browser context is an object altogether, right? Which will have its own methods. And this is the second thing which we will discuss after browser, okay? But what are all the methods which you can access within it? So browser methods are here, right? When you say new context, it gives you a browser context. And what is the context? This one. So all these methods are accessible through that browser context, right? Which in our case is through the C1 here. Okay. C1. You see new page here, right? I'm saying C1 or new page. New page is the method on the browser context. See here. Go to the documentation. Let's see. Browser context, right? New page. You see new page. So all these methods are accessible at the context level. Yeah, Anand.
Sorry, Akhil, to interrupt. Can you go to the diagram once again where you have described? Yeah, this one. Right. So browser gives you the access to the
Process, let's say, right? Let's say it gives you a process to the browser Chrome.
process.
Yeah.
Okay. Browse and
New
then the
context.
next comes yeah. Then the next comes is the new context, which gives you the access to the session,
Isolated session.
isolated session.
Right?
And
From
then
that browser, right? Yeah.
yeah, on that browser, and then on that session, you get access to the actual
Tabs.
tab, which is basically the page fixture.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely
and
right.
yeah, and that's where we will majorly be writing our scripts using.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. Okay.
C1
Okay.
dot new page. When you this new one dot page, it will go and create a new tab here, right? Like this.
Okay.
When you do C2 dot new page, it will not go and create a page here. It will go and create a page here, right? In this session. And these two sessions are part of this here. Now, one last thing. If you see this, right? You started this, someone started this, and someone started this, right? Let's say. So there are three things, right? Now at all three levels, you can close. You can close. If you go and close the tab, right? Like this, I can go and close this tab, right? It can get closed. So just understand, just for the understanding perspective, right? If you close a tab here, right? Let's say there was only one tab. What will happen? The session will also get closed.
Yeah.
Right? But if you have two tabs, what will happen? Only that specific tab will open, close, right? And the session will remain, and the tab will remain, correct? The other tab will remain, right? If you see these are four tabs, if I close this, what will happen? The three tabs will remain, and the session will also remain, right?
Correct.
Right. So when you do a close on a page level, right? Let's say this is a page P2, P1. When you say P1 dot close, it will close a specific tab, right? And but if you have other tabs opened up, the session will remain, right? Okay. So this is one understanding. So you can close at a page level. Similarly, you can close at a session level. Let's say you have three tabs here, right? And you say, I'm going to close a session. You will do what? You will go to C2 and say C2 dot close. As soon as you do, what will happen? It will close everything, right, on the session, right? All the tabs and all the session, it will close, right? And if you, but what will happen to this session here? It will still run, right? Because it's a separate session, correct? If you want to close this, you will have to say C1 dot close, right?
Right.
So if you do a close at a session level, only that session is impacted. If you do a close on a page, only that page is impacted, right? Provided the scenario. And the third case, if you do a close at the Chrome level, what will happen?
The
Let's
whole
say
worker process.
everything will get closed.
Yeah.
Right? Everything will get closed. So why I told you all this? Because there's a method on close which exists, which I'm going to tell you now. Close. Okay. If you do a close at the browser level, everything which you have opened up, right, whichever exists on the browser thing, everything will get closed. And what does it mean? It means, I told you, right, that browser thing is being used by all the test cases, right? I told you this. This browser thing is being used by this worker, which is being used by all the test cases, right? So this test case also receives the same browser. This also receives the same browser instance, right? Which is this one. So if you, let's say you are running things in parallel, right? Let's say, right? And you say browser.close here. You have to understand it that this will have an impact on this test case now. Because you said browser.close. It will close all the opened up sessions. There was a session given to this browser, right? Session 1, and there was a session given to this session S2, right? But both these sessions came from this browser only, right? When you say browser.close, it will close all the sessions. So you have to use this close method very diligently. That is what I'm trying to tell you here. Okay. So you should be knowing about the method, but the chances are you will never use this method. In case this browser is open using this, right, closes the browser and all of its pages, right? In this case, it's expected to clears all created context belonging to this browser and disconnects from the browser server. Okay, so this will do all of that. Let us see this. So you are creating a page and all that. Let me create a new browser context, C2 also. C2. So this is page created. Let me create a new page, P2 equals to C2, and here I will say await P2 dot go to https youtube.com @podcast, right? And in the end I will do what? Okay, there is a way to pause between it, so let me just pause it. P2 dot pause, can I do it? Yes, I can pause it, and then I will say after the pause, right, I will say await browser dot close. Now we'll see like what happens after this. What happens after this? If you say browser dot close, and let's say I wanted to let's say I wanted to hit a new URL here. Let's say Udemy. We'll see whether you will still have the access to the P2 or not after the close part. Right? Let's run this. We understood what methods, new context, browser type, and this is the third thing, which is the close method. Okay, let's see. It opened one session, it opened the other session. You can see one is the right, two sessions, one tab here, one tab here. And once it will load up, it will now go to the pause part. It will pause my test case, which it should do, and you can see it has paused, and that's why it has opened this inspector part for me. Okay, let's go to our test case. We'll discuss about Playwright inspector, trace viewer. There is a UI mode, and there are 3-4 things, right? We will discuss it once we are done with all the discussions, right, of the automation part. I have shown all of this on day one just to give you a glimpse of it, but we'll discuss about all this in detail afterwards. So if you see, right, there's a Playwright inspector. This is like, because you said pause here, right? It has it's like a debugger. You just placed it here, and now you got a debugger here. And if you want, right, you can place more breakpoints. Right? How to put a breakpoint? Can we do a breakpoint here from here? Okay, I think we can't, but we can go step by step here. We'll see, right? I will see. Even I am not very sure about it right now. But you can see, right, my control of execution on this line, right? And you can see both the browser being used, right? Both are there. Now let's run this and see what happens next. If I run it, right, if you see, right, both the sessions are closed, and it has now thrown an error. What is the error? Error says, you can see both the sessions were gone as soon as you wrote close here, right? Both the sessions were closed. And when I'm saying await P2.go to here, right, see, it has thrown me an error. Right, it has thrown me an error at the go to level. It is saying, let's see, what does it say? Target page context of browser has been closed. So there is nothing which it can do with this method now. Getting it?
Got it.
I hope this is clear, right?
Yes, quite clear.
Okay,
Quite
great.
straightforward. Yeah.
Right. So I think close method is clear to us on this part. Okay, browser type, close, new context. We're done. Context, right? Context. So let's see this. If you see, right, how many contexts did I create here?
2.
One is here, and second is here, right? Now, and I created these contexts at what level? At this browser level, right? So what happens here is browser maintains like how many contexts has been created, how many sessions are running from this browser. If you need access to them, right, you can access all of them by just typing this. Let me just remove this part first, and let's also remove this pause part. Await browser dot context. it will return you the array of the contexts which are currently available inside the browser. How many contexts I have? 2. It will return you what? It will return you the array of browser contexts. Now, as you can see, right, it did not returns a promise. That's why await is complaining. It is saying it has no effect. Okay, great. So let's say let context equals to this. Okay. Now, what did you got here? You got an array of contexts. How many items? How many contexts you have? C1 and C2, right? So it's like you will be given an array of C1 and C2. Getting it? This is at index 0 position. This is at index 1 position. So let's say you wanted to access. I wanted to understand how many contexts are running. You can just see do what? There's a length property on the array, right? And you can print it to understand how many sessions were running for it, right? And let's say you have hundreds of sessions running. You wanted to access a particular one. You can just on an index basis, you can just go and do it from there, right? And at a particular context level, right, you get all the information also. Let's say context 0 dot. You see, you got access to that context C1 context, which is here, and you are getting all access to all the methods, right, which are available at that context. Which are what? Which are this all these methods available on the context. Yeah, man.
Okay, just out of curiosity, is there a way to get multiple worker process, like multiple browsers passed in the test?
No.
No,
This
right?
is not no. In Playwright, right, what you can have is you can have for one worker, you will only get one browser session instance.
Okay.
Right?
And okay. And then how does it behave when we do parallel cross browser testing, like same script running on 2 different browsers? Then in that case, how do we handle that?
In that case, it will start 2 different workers, one for Chrome, one for Firefox, right?
But they will be accessed using that one single browser.
No, as I said, right? So these are 2 different workers. So every worker receives its own browser, right?
Yeah, that is fine.
So that answers your query, right? So worker 1 will receive a Chrome process, right? And the second worker will receive a Firefox process. So these are 2 different browsers, right?
Yeah,
Instances.
that I understood. How will I be able to let's say we printed what we did, that browser context, browser type
Browser
details,
type, right?
right? So let's say if I want to access both Chrome and Firefox browser type details in one single test case, then how will it be?
You can't.
We cannot. Okay.
You cannot, because as I said, right, every worker will receive one browser instance, browser process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you are accessing, let's say this test case, right? Let's say this is a single test case, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has to be then on Chrome and on Firefox, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're running it them in parallel by creating the multiple projects over there.
Mm-hmm.
What will happen is Playwright will start 2 workers, worker 1, worker 2. It will give the copy of this test case to both of them separately. So worker 1 will receive the copy of this test case, of this test file, and worker 2 will receive the copy of this test file with itself, right? And now Playwright will inject browsers for these workers, right? So this will receive Chrome and this will receive the Firefox. If in this test file, because these are same files, right? Just 2 different copies now. Now what will happen here is in your test file, in a test case, if you written browser type, right? So both the files have that code written. Let's say this worker is printing. So this worker is running with the Chrome thing. So it will print what? The information about the Chrome thing, right? And this worker will print about what? The Firefox thing. Let's say if it was running on that browser. Getting it? So this is how things would be running in the Playwright part.
And let's say now I'm interested in running in getting some values from Firefox version.
Where in the second worker, the worker which is running with Firefox.
Yes.
So you can access it.
But then I'm not having the access to the.
You will not have access. You will have the access to the browser which is meant for that worker. You will not start having the access to the other workers browser, because those are isolated things, right?
I think I'm still little confused here.
This is a test file. Okay, test file 1.
Yeah.
You said you went into your config file and you created 2 projects.
Two projects.
Project 1, project 2. Let's say this is running on Chrome, this is running on Firefox. And you ran the command npx playwright test. What will happen? Right, both these projects will run parallel. Okay, both these projects will run. See, Playwright supports it is like a parallel testing approach, right? It uses that. So it starts these your projects right in parallel, providedly you have the required workers with you, right? Okay, so it will start them parallelly. So what will happen is it will create now here, right? You have only one test file being used here, test file 1, and test file 1 same file is being used. What Playwright will do is in the ecosystem, it will start worker 1, it will start worker 2. Worker 1 will be given same test file 1, and worker 2 will be given test file 2. So same file, right? This worker 1 will be running on what? Chrome. It will be running on what? Firefox. And let's say in the test case, which is the same test case here also, you have written test.browser type and you're printing it, let's say, right? So both are having the same code, browser type will be printing out. Now when worker 1 will be running this, what will you print? What will you get as an output of this? Chrome information, correct? And here what will you get? Firefox. Can you get access to this Chrome information in this test file too? No. In this worker thing? No, you will not get, because Firefox is given to this worker. Getting it?
Okay. So let's say I have a requirement that I just want to kill the Firefox instance. I need to keep the browser Chrome instance running within the test script, and I just want to close the Firefox instance only. In that case, how is this possible scenario? Or the
See,
test
what
file?
you can do is you can do some logic inside the test case. Again, first of all, this is I'm not understanding the context of it, but let's say this is possible. So what you can do is you can inside, since you have access to the browser object here, right? You can get to know which browser is running, right?
Yeah.
What you can do is you can say browser dot and get to know about the name of the browser, and you can do a condition here. If browser dot browser name equals to Firefox, do browser dot close.
Okay.
If it is not, it will not close it.
Okay.
Getting it now?
Okay. Okay. Now I understood that the worker process will get a copy of that same file, so
Right.
that the same file as per the browser type, it will run on two different browser. The same steps will run on those both two different processes.
That is what cross-browser testing is, right? You
Yes,
run
yes.
the same test case on
What
multiple browsers.
Yeah, yeah. You do not do two different things in a parallel execution on two different browsers. It basically intend to do same thing on a different two parallel browsers when you do it with cross browser testing. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That is the idea of browser,
Yes,
the
yes,
cross-browser testing, right?
yes, 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 yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Moving ahead, browser part. We discussed about browser type, close. Context. We discussed about new context. Now there is a method called new page. There is a method called new page. Okay. So we discussed about new context. We discussed about. So let me write. New context. We talked about. Done. Context gives you an array of the context which you open up. Close. We have discussed, and we have discussed about browser type. Right. Great. Now let's say at the browser level, right? They also give you a handy method, right? Which is new page. So now what happens here is you will say browser dot new page. Now you understand the process first of all, right? You know that it is not the browser who creates the page. You need to have the session first, right? So it's a 3-step process. From browser, you have to go to the context, and from the context, you create the page, right? When browser as an object is giving you the access to new page, right? Understand that it is giving you a shortcut. It is giving you a shortcut where you do not need to create a context first. If you need, you can just create a new page, right? Like this. But internally, it would be creating a context for you and then assigning a page to it, right? So if I go back here, let me just comment all this out. What we are doing here is You can say browser dot new page. As soon as you do this, right, it will create a new page which you can collect p1, let's say, and then access the same thing here, p1 dot go to here, like this. Array, yaar, why it keeps doing this? Because I did not put await here, that's why. Await p1 dot go to, right, and you can hit the URL. If you see, right, browser is giving you a shortcut method which is new page. So instead of creating the context first and then creating a page, you can directly create a page. But remember, internally it would be still be creating a context and then assigning a page to it. Okay. I hope this is clear, right? Nothing else to
Yes.
explain on this. It's just a shortcut. So you can do this. See, and even if I do a let me just grab the context also, right? Let me just show you for the purpose. Not await, where we say browser dot context. All right. So this will return you the array of context, and I can collect it here. Let's say C context. Context equals to this browser, right? And I would like to print this. What is the context dot length? I mean, I want you to understand that it's not that context were not created. Context also. So what happens here, right? If you at line number 4, there is no context, right? There is no context. There is no page. At line number 6, it directly said it, okay, create a page. But to create a page internally, it would have also created a context. Okay, and that context would have been attached to the browser, right? So this is your opening a page, great. But here at this line, we are trying to collect all the available context. So here the context was not there, but because of this line, it would have created a context and assigned to that browser. And if you do a context here, right, it will give an array of all the context. How many context will you get? One. As of now, one, right? Which was created because of this page creation. And I'm just printing the length of it. So it will should print 1 here. Let's see. Let's just close this tab. Let me run new PowerShell tab. See, it opened up the page, it closed also. Okay, what is did I do? Length is a method or what? Length is a number. What did I do wrong here? Browser context. This is correct. What did I wrong here? Okay, one error was not a part of any test. See above 4 digits. Failed worker ran one. Navigating to until load. Okay. This did not give it the right. Okay. Okay. There is another problem here because of the navigation time. Okay. But we have not discussed about it. So what should I do? I can pause here for a second. Okay. I hope you understand the context. We'll come back to this part, right, where it failed here, right? I will explain this afterwards, but we do not have the required information till now, so I will avoid the discussion as of now. Okay. But we'll revisit this maybe once we discuss about the timeout, the navigation timeout specifically. Okay. Uh, but you have to understand, right, that this would have created a context, and if you run this, it would have given you an answer as 1 if everything was working here. Since it failed in this line, so it never reached to this line as of now. Okay, so we'll leave it. Oh, but if you see, right, it printed 1 here. It did. Oh my bad, I did not use await also. Okay, I think this is one of the problem which I have here. Maybe this will solve it. But okay, I understood this. Just a second. Let's run this again and see if this time it works. Okay, I think it should work. Let's see. It opened up the browser, it will hit the URL, and it printed 1. It passed, right? So you can see it has a context. Okay, What I was thinking is that there is some issue with the navigation timeout thing, which is by default some time. But the problem was that I was not using await, and what was happening is, since I did not use await, what happened here is it just went here and just triggered it right without waiting something else. So this is the line which got executed, and what happened was because of this that since it requires a promise to be handled right, and I was not using await, so it was instantly fired without waiting for this to get completed. Okay, and that is where the problem came. Okay, fine, but I hope you understood the point. Await here. uh, what I was talking about, new page we did, new context. CDP session we don't need. We have not discussed about Chrome DevTools protocol, and that is not our agenda to discuss. So we are not discussing this. Is connected is something which we'll talk about. This is we don't need version. Version is just the information of the browser version, right, which we have. So if you want, you can just go and print the version of the browser being used. In my case, it will print the version of this browser. Where is it? If you see this right, I have a version. Where do we get about Google Chrome? 134 dot this version, right? If you see, it will print this information. If I just say browser dot, let me remove this. It will say browser dot version, right? And if you see right, it is a method or a function. It's a method. So let me just use method here, and it's a string value. So it will print the version here. So we'll see this happening. So this part is done. I'll show you the output of this. And the last part is what I want to show you is connected. Okay, it's connected. So this is done, this is done, this is done, this is done, this is done. Remove all listeners, ignore it. Start tracing, stop tracing, ignore it. Version we have done. Events. Events is an important part of Playwright. Okay, is a very important part of Playwright. We will discuss more about it. But let's discuss this is connected first. Indicates that the browser is connected. Okay, the browser is connected. So let's go back to our code. If you look here, right? Okay, if you see here, right, browser. Let me see. Let's just see this. Browser dot is connected. If you see right, it's a method first of all, and it prints you. It gives you a boolean value, right? Whether the browser is connected or not. Whenever you write, when this browser is injected into this test case, it is connected to the server, the Playwright server, right? And you're able to access it. Okay. And if I would run this, it would print true here. Okay, it will return true here, and it does not return it just returns a boolean. So let me just collect it. I will say console.log and this part. Okay, and it will return true. In all these things, it will return true only. Let's say if I print it again, right? Maybe here, it will say true also, here also. But as soon as, right, I somehow that browser process, right, gets closed. Let's say somehow it gets closed. Maybe it crashed. Maybe there is some issue with my system, or maybe I did it implicitly by calling close method on the browser, right? So if I did this, let's say browser dot close. If I do this right, browser dot close, which returns you a promise. Let's just await for it, await. And if I do this, what will happen here is it's a promise, right? It's a promise returns, right? So it will do what? It will close the browser. Now, if I try to see whether it is connected or not, it should say what? It should say false. And now, since the browser is not connected itself, you will not be able to do any of this. Browser dot new context and all that. Let's try. Let C1 equals to this part, and I will say C1. Okay, new context, and I have to do await here. Await C1 dot new page. Await. Let P2 equals to this, and let's hit the URL also. Await P2 dot go to https youtube.com. अरे यार. Okay, let's run this and see what happens. Okay, I hope my test case is fine. Let's see. I am hopeful that this will not work, but let's see. Let's see what it does. Using await, right? Correctly, yes. So first of all, it went right. It opened up the browser. You can see, right? True, true, false. Right? It said true, true, and false, and then let me just come back. The first one, right, said that yes, browser is connected to the server. Right? What is the server? The Playwright server, right? Which we have discussed in the architecture of Playwright. So this is connected, right? So this is true till now. So you can do any operation on the browser. You create a browser page, yes, it worked. Here you create a context, yes, it worked. And you are printing the session, okay, version also. Let's see the version information. You can see the version information here, right? 134 and all that. Okay. So the next part. Now you're saying it's connected, yes, it is connected. When you say await browser.close, as soon as you do this, right, this part, it started printing false. It printed false here. Since browser itself does not exist, you cannot create and you're not connected to it, you cannot create the page or a context on it. And that is where it says target page context browser has been closed, and you can't do anything about it. So this helps you, right? This method helps you to understand. Let's say if you're getting these issues, right, you can just check whether your browser is still connected to the Playwright server or not, right? By using this disconnected method. Okay. I hope this is clear, right? One last method for today, and one last method for today is this events, right? Events. Now, before going there, we need some understanding about events. Let me just very quickly, I'll just take 5 more minutes and we'll wrap it up. Delete. See, you would have heard about event-driven system, right? Event-driven system. What happens there? So let's take an example. Let's take an example. A very layman example. Let's say there is a class. Okay, there is a class of students who are sitting. There are students sitting here, right, in the class. Now, what I did was, let's say I'm a class teacher. Okay, I'm a class teacher, and what I did was, I'm a class teacher, and there is a monitor in the class. Okay, there is a monitor in the class. Monitor in the class. Okay, now these guys, right, are doing something, right? Let's say this person, right, is like, let's say it is working. It is working on the board. Okay, on the board, it is still working, right? He's still writing something on the blackboard. This guy is playing piano, let's say, right? Piano, right? And let's say this guy is doing nothing. Is doing nothing here. Now, as a teacher, right, I got a call and I have to go back. I have to go somewhere. Now I gave the responsibility to this monitor to see, okay, monitor, please monitor these things, right, in the class, and tell me as soon as, right, let's say this completes its work, it completes its work, and this starts doing something. Let's say I asked him, right, now monitor is observing, he's observing, okay, let's say this A person, B and C person, right? Let's say as soon as this A person, see, let's say let's write a time, let's draw a timeline. There's a timeline, okay? So T1, let's say T1 is the time when I asked this monitor to start monitoring, okay? Start monitoring. So he's starting monitoring and I'm going away. Now he's monitoring, and let's say at time T2, right? What happened was this A completed its work on writing on the board, right? So A completed. As soon as A completed its work, right? Monitor did what? I have given him a mobile phone. He took out his phone and called me, sir, that this guy A has completed its work. So at the real time, right? At the real time, I am being notified. I am being notified. I am being notified. Okay, I am being notified. So this is an event, right? This is an event that this guy completed its work. It's one event, and as soon as it did, right, someone notified me, right? Notified me. It's an event, not event, right? And someone notified me. And then I also asked him, right? See, there are other people in the class, right? There are other people in the class whom I have not asked to monitor, right? So this guy is only monitoring these three things, these three events, right? I have not asked this guy to monitor these things, right? So try to understand what I'm trying to explain here, right? The understanding is that there is an event driven mechanism, right? So what happens is, if the event occurs, right, then you need to trigger something, then trigger something, right? And if the event occurs, which event, you will have to be very specific which event you're talking about. So I have asked this monitor to monitor three events. One, the board; second, the piano; and third, this person, right, who is doing nothing, right? As soon as something changes here, right, from the usual process, let's say as soon as this event completes, he will tell me. As soon as this completes, he will tell me. As soon as this changes, right, he will tell me. But if this is doing something, right, it is not even monitoring it, right? So it will not tell me. Getting it? So it's an event based system. If event occurs, you will be notified. Now what happens in Playwright? Playwright has this event driven mechanism. Okay, event driven mechanism, which is available at all three levels: browser context, page, and some other levels also, right? Now what happens here? Let's say a browser is running, right? Okay, let's take an example. I'll give an example. Let's say you are working on a web page. Right? And you would have seen, right, in some of the applications, what happens is that there are some ads, right, or pop-ups which flies out of nowhere at any point of time. They just come up right on the screen. And now this is a very big problem, right, for the automation, that you do not know when that pop-up will come up, right? Now using Playwright, you can give that responsibility to the event mechanism. You can ask him, okay, Playwright, please monitor this browser, and whenever a dialog opens up, right, whenever a dialog box opens up, do something about it, right? If you think this to the usual case of Selenium, how will you achieve it there? Over there, you will have to know either the specific time or the operation on which that dialog appears, right? If you are able to do it, you will be able to control it, right? If not, what will happen is you will have to somehow disable it. Or third of disable it means disable the dialog box, right? You will have to get a new environment, a controlled environment, where that pop-up will never appear, so that your automation can go through. Or the third case is you will say, okay, I cannot automate it and I'm done with it, right? But with Playwright, they have a mechanism. They work on event driven. So what can happen is they will start an event. They will start noticing an event, right? They will say, okay, a dialog event. Whenever a dialog box will open, right? Whenever a dialog box open up on the screen, Playwright will be notified. And as soon as Playwright is notified, you can take some actions on it. Okay, you can take some actions on it. And then you can say close the dialog box, and this will get closed. Does this understanding help you to understand like what is event driven?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Now this dialog part and other things, right, we will discuss once we go to the page level. But for the browser thing, right, there is one event which you can control, which is the closing of the browser. Let's say someone said browser.close, right? Someone said browser.close, right? Now what, or let's say your browser is about to be crashed, right? So you need to maybe clean up something, right? Or do something about it. So there is an event which you can manage for it. How do you manage event? There is a method called on. Kiran, you wanted to say something?
No.
Okay. So event, right? Events on this computer, right? This event, right? You will first have to enable it. Okay. So this is like, okay. First of all, these are like specific events which you can monitor. Okay, which you can monitor. It's not that you can monitor everything. There's a list of events which you can monitor, and for the browser, there's only one event which you can monitor, which is disconnected. Okay. This event, right? If you want to monitor, you will have to use this method. Okay, and it will be only emitted when your browser gets disconnected from the browser application, which is your server. Okay, you can see either the browser application is closed or crashed, or the method was called. Okay, so what can happen here is, you can see I'm closing the browser here, right? I'm closing the browser here. Now let me write some code. Browser.on. Okay, there is a method called on, and this returns you a browser only, so I do not need to write await here. What I will do here is, it needs to know the, if you see the signature of it, it accepts, right, the first the event which you want to listen. I want to listen about the disconnected part. As soon as the browser will get disconnected, right, I want to listen to that event, and as soon as that event happens, right, I want to do something about it, right? So there is a listener, right, who will do something about it. So emitted when browser this, and listener requires a browser information, which is this. Okay, so now what will happen here is, right, try to understand the code. This is an, you are trying to do was, you are trying to write a trigger. This is the trigger, right? This is something where something will happen if this event occurs, right? If this event occurs, let's see. Let me just write here console. As of now I'm just writing this console.log. Browser got disconnected. Okay, browser got disconnected. I'm writing this. Now what will happen? Now try to understand when this piece of code will run. I'm writing in top of the line number 6, and after this I'm writing all this. So will it run here only? It will not run here. It will only run once this event happens. And at what line this event is happening? Not here, not here, not here, not here, not here, at this line. At line number 21, as soon as you say browser or close, the event gets fired. Okay, the browser is getting to be disconnected, and there is an event which you have registered to listen, right, through this command. And now since this has been triggered, since this event has happened, now this thing will happen, whatever you mentioned here, and I have mentioned this, so this will get printed on the screen. Okay, let's see this now. Let me clean up all this, and let's not try to access this because it throws an error afterwards. Let's just remove all this, and terminal, new terminal. Let's see. Let it complete all this. You see? Let's understand the sequence. This line did not got printed in the first line, right? No, it did not print it. This is like you're registering an event. You're saying, okay, whenever that event happens, run this. So the event did not happen, so it did not run. It ran this line. Okay, it's corrected. Yes, it is true. Then you're printing. You open the browser and it went to the page. Great. Then you create a new context, right? And then you printed the version. So it printed the version. Okay, great. Then it moved ahead and you're printing. You're checking again whether the browser is still printed. Yes, it is true. So it printed true. Now after this line, right, you said browser or close. As soon as you trigger this, as soon as it happened, right, it triggered an event saying, okay, the browser is disconnected, right? It's like everyone started shouting, oh, browser closed, and we came to know about it and we want to do something about it. So what happened was, as soon as this got fired, it was notified, and as soon as it was notified, it will trigger this. It triggered this, and you got this printed here. Whatever you mentioned inside those braces will get done, will be done. And then what happened was, you're trying to check again. So as soon as that got completed, it went to the next line, which is this is connected false. Is it clear? Yeah, man.
I understood the event mechanism. Only thing that is still that is not clear is the sequence is not necessarily needs to be maintained when we
You can play. See, you have to register your event first, right?
Okay, event registration is
Right, and event registrations, right? I would recommend, please do it. If you are interested in those events, place it on the top. Okay,
makes
place it
sense.
on the top.
Okay.
Right, because execution happens line by line only, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure this will, if you even place, okay, let's run it here. I'm not sure. Let's place it downwards. Let's see whether will it still run in this way or not. see browser.on, right? Right. It should run actually. Let's see. Let's run this. I think I still expect the same output, but let's see this.
Yeah, I am actually able to relate it to event mechanism quite quickly because I work on something similar in
Kafka and all, right?
Kafka and all the stuff. So event mechanism I understand, but yeah, this registration part is what that is. I'm little more interested in that. How does that registration part work?
Okay. See, you see, no, it did not run, right? So we need this to be placed on top, right?
Makes sense.
So we need to we need to tell Playwright, okay, that there is something which you have to do earlier. Okay, so this is not the right place. Place it on the top.
Okay.
Yeah, Kiran, please.
So we can use this browser.on for other events of the browser as well, like console error messages,
For
browser.
those, right, those are at the context level, not at the browser level.
Okay.
Okay, so if you would see, right,
Implementation is the same, right?
yeah, see, it works on the same mechanism of event driven thing, right, which is what same, but you have to understand the usage of it. How will you use it, right?
Yeah.
So it might vary. If you see, right, there are events here,
Oh,
console, dialog, and all that, right, which are available at the context level. Similarly, at the page level also there would be some here. If you would go to the page level, see the events, so many events, right?
yes.
Okay, so it depends, right, on your use case and how things would be used. We will go one by one. So let's see. But yeah, so for today, right, browser part is done. So we have seen all the methods which are important for us, which we need to understand. I think we're good with it. Okay. Tomorrow we'll start with browser context, and I think tomorrow itself we'll start with the page part also. Because browser context, you might see a lot of methods there, but we do not need all of them. We need only handful of them. So we'll see.
Yes.
Okay, I think we are good for today. Let's wrap it up. Right? Bye.